Because a lot of people, probably mostly just the sword propagandists, were saying that sword done fell off. Keith obviously feeling still good with that sword, as of course he's coming in here on that bowed bar. We'll have a sword, and of course, like you said, we'll have that hammer.
I love that from Keith there. Instead of immediately going for the weapon pickup, getting the most punishing combo you can with a D-Light in the ground pound there to rack on some extra credit. Already Keith showing he's definitely not cold coming into this match. Air's coming out, and Light sends off stage, looking for the down air there. Tax evasion gets a big flip with an air. We see the pace of the match immediately speed up comparatively to the Sphinx sets that we've seen in the past. Now it's coming out of seed number 3 and 2, and they are very, very on top of it.
Yeah, ready to swing on each other. Keith, though, not able to get that stomp. Saw him right next to tax evasion when tax evasion stayed above it. Recovery will connect, came out quick. Another one will KO. And Keith already starting to put some candles in that cake.
Yeah, he is definitely eating his cake, and quite early here. You know, definitely not over in the set, but Keith is going to have the confidence like he can win any set, and definitely rightfully so here. Side light, waiting for it there, doesn't find it, going for the nair as well. The recovery comes out. And Light sends off stage. Here we go. Okay, going for the recovery that time. It didn't work, but the weapon toss will, and Keith, okay, right now is running laps around tax evasion, who's struggling to find any hit. I mean, the nairs are coming out. The hammer is taking over this game. Okay, ground pound comes out. Okay, that was a little bit too much overheat for sure from Keith. Looking for the exclamation point on the clip, but right now tax evasion really looking for any sort of way to stop all this momentum on the side of Keith.
I mean, this is a huge lead on the side of Keith, basically lapping tax evasion. Has 168 damage to the 171 on tax evasion's second stock, and that one's gonna fall now. Keith looking so good with this bowed bar.
I feel like this is quite a tall task for tax evasion, not only to win this game, but win back some mental coming into this set. I feel like you definitely feel like you have chances to win this tournament, but the way that Keith is playing right now, he looks confident. We see a little taunt from tax evasion, looking to get some momentum back here, and he does that at the expense of getting a more optimal weapon toss, so trading away some of that potential advantage state for an advantage in the mental game. Side light, down light, sider, a lot of damage side stick coming out there. The way that game number 1 in winners finals ended, but won't find it this time. Tax evasion seeing right through that option.
Well, it's like you said earlier, tax evasion, very emotional based player, right? He needs that momentum emotionally, and right now probably doesn't have it, so he's going to need a lot more emotes if he wants to get it. But right now, Keith definitely feeling the momentum.
I'm really curious on what the hyperfixation with this cake emote is. Like, what do you think it is about it that makes Keith so happy? Maybe he just like is celebrating that he's going to win the tournament, and I guess it matches the Bodvar, like celebration Bodvar situation here. So nonetheless, I mean, Keith rightfully earning his cake, and he'll eat it too if he continues to move forward with this dominant win. Looking for this 3-0 grand finals. Tax evasion definitely going to have something to say about that, though, as we lock right back into game number 2, hopefully looking to find some momentum and a way to stop this confidence from Keith.
I like to believe that there's deep lore between the two of them, and Keith knows that tax evasion has a gluten allergy, and so he shows him the cake as a way to kind of mock tax evasion. Like, imagine like holding up like a bag of peanuts against someone who's got a peanut allergy.
That would be quite a way to get into someone's head for sure, and so far it's been working out. But tax evasion looking to fight right back with those double siders, but he didn't get the ground pound at the end, and Keith gets right back onto the stage. You know, we see the sword come out here, but I assume Keith is going to want to swap over to the hammer quite quickly here.
I'm seeing him stick with the sword a little bit. Will dash over towards that weapon spawn every now and then, but for the most part, it looks like he's going to be sticking with the sword for now. Weapon toss tries to open up tax evasion, still gets that pickup down air.
Light sends off stage, looking for the big side sig, doesn't find it though.
No weapon toss, instead goes off stage, goes for the ground pound. Tax evasion with a falling side air pogo, and that should be the stock unless, okay.
Tax evasion all too ready for that, realizing only one recovery angle, and GC down light ground pound taps it in unarmed. Keith looking to pick up a hammer now. So we saw the secondary weapon of the side of Keith in that last stock. We'll see how tax evasion is able to compete with it as Keith looks to even up the stocks quickly. Nice weapon toss there to avoid Keith going for the ground pound there. Ground pound of tax evasion's own for some nice damage. Looking for this down light, doesn't find it. Side light into recovery instead for the side of tax evasion, but the nair will swat away the chances of tax evasion to rack on some extra credit, but Keith looking to hold on to the hammer now.
Yeah, that hammer was the thing that did all the work in game number 1. Not surprised to see him sticking with it here for game number 2, as he finally has the chance to. Nice 3-piece. Gets more. Keith adding up that damage, getting this back to even.
The recovery from Keith quite tricky, but taxiivation reading right through that with a downer. Avoiding with the ground pound, and the recovery comes out from Keith, but taxiivation able to not only avoid it, but also get a recovery onto Keith, but Keith cycles right back to his secondary hammer for the sideline recovery. We'll take that stock, and taxiivation with a taunt there, looking very confident here. Moving on into this game number 2. He's up 2 stocks to 1.
Over to the sword now. Tries to down sig immediately on that corner. Wanted to catch taxiivation. It does have that downward spike, but unfortunate that he didn't get that hit. I like the use of the soft platform there. Dip down, get that recovery.
I love the weapon tosses there to keep taxiivation kind of dribbled in the same spot. The sider will close out that stock, and the lead seemingly evaporating here. That's a nice bit of damage that Keith is able to, or taxiivation is able to rack up, but it's not anything to write home about, as taxiivation now wants to capitalize on this, but Keith getting a reversal there. Double recovery now. taxiivation having to recover quite quickly. The recovery does hit Keith though, so the damage still in the favor of taxiivation, but Keith can easily steal this game away. taxiivation down there into the GC sideline, doesn't find it. A scoop, a score, not enough to KO. Another scoop now, one nair away. A D-light into sider towards the corner, but taxiivation fights right back with a spear online, going for the recovery there. No punish from Keith, but a GC side sig is enough to mix up Keith in a way that puts taxiivation in a great spot. A weapon toss away. taxiivation going for the big recovery and the GC downlight, but doesn't find any gauntlet recoveries. The KO option, great dodge away from Keith, but that end light not enough to do it, barely.
Yo, but Keith has been behind the neutral light. Finally, we'll get that KO in favor of taxiivation, and that will even things up 1-1.
Great showing from taxiivation to stay in this game, but we see an immediate lock back in, no typing. Just get right back into this one. taxiivation actually with little giggle in the chat there, looking to be a little sneaky, a little cheeky to try to maybe get some mental points back in this set. But KeithThePooPoo, I mean, he not only having this set to work with where it's 1-1 apiece, but also the next set as well. If you didn't know already, it's a double elimination bracket, which means the loser side or the elimination side has to reset the bracket once. So taxiivation with quite a big journey to potentially win this tournament, but you can't think of that. All you can think of now is game 3, first set here on Small Fortress of Lions.
Well, there's the weapon spot on the left side. It's going to be that hammer. It's generally been the weapon that's been working the best for KeithThePooPoo here. Gets that neutral light to start things off on his side. Nice wake up. Gravity against the downlight into the chase recovery. Not able to get that ground pound. Likely could have led to a KO though.
And the down air from Keith now as taxiivation is avoiding a lot of these big hitboxes, but right now Keith is getting a lot of these poking tools on the sword that Mike sends away, and we see an immediate attempt to reversal back into the game with that sidelight, and Keith sees right through it. Right now, taxiivation definitely swinging in really bad timers as Keith is able to read through all of these right now. D-light into recovery will be able to take it off the top. Keith running away with game number 3 right now. This looks like the dominance we saw in the previous set in game number 1 already showing for Keith.
Yeah, just fantastic plays coming out from Keith. Had that shimmy on the left side that led to the side air, and he's doing such a good job just playing around taxiivation's attacks.
And light into down air into side air. Wow, great open up there for Keith. Once again, racking all that extra credit and showing, hey, I'm not a one-trick pony. I can definitely still use this sword to great effect. taxiivation is struggling to close out this stock. You are still in the damage build step as taxiivation is now really struggling to find this KO, and Keith is looking to close out that with a down sig. The very tipper hitbox of it sending straight downwards, and Keith with a 3 stock and a weapon toss.
I feel like taxiivation misread that message there, because Keith did sweat bead for a moment. I think taxiivation saw that as an opportunity to get a little bit more aggressive, ended up going off stage, and Keith just turns it around, hits that down sig. Now there's 3 stocks to the 1 of taxiivation.
Yeah, gonna have to find a lot of great reads here. We see the end light into side air on the attempt to cover the dodge away, and he does find it on Keith, who has found a lot of defensive success avoiding taxiivation by dashing off stage, but hopefully taxiivation can start reading that here if he wants to come back in this game. D-light into side air, D-light into weight. Keith not ready to hit that D-light, but he's still in such a big lead as taxiivation looks to even up the stocks here with that recovery. The nair into the down air, into the nair, into the side air. Doesn't find the side air though that time. The end light the other way, and the big damage build here. Another end light sends away. Double directional air dodge, and we see the side air close it out. Double chase dodge, I should say, as we go to last stock. taxiivation bringing this game all the way back, and some weird weapon toss trades to even up the damage a little bit more.
Really well done on taxiivation's side to get this one back to final stocks, to get this one a little bit closer, but he's still hurting right now. 144 damage on taxiivation. KeithThePooPoo not quite able to get the KO just yet, but could do it from this corner.
Recovery once again. Now we see the hammer pickup. No, we hold on to the sword of recovery. Not enough to KO, but any downlight will definitely confirm into a KO now, or side air straight up. And Keith on match point in this grand final set. 1 game away from taking Summer Champs singles for Southeast Asia. We'll see if Tax Evasion has a rebuttal.
Keith putting some big ol' ha-ha-has in chat, said I gave him a chance for second stock. So even that second stock was Keith just being kind to Tax Evasion is what he's saying. But we'll see if Tax Evasion feels some sort of way. Maybe he's like, no, I earned that one, and I'll show you I can earn it again as we get ready to get into game number 4.
3, 2.
Well, right here to Miami Dome, as we have quite a close set in terms of the score line. I mean, Tax Evasion can definitely reset here, but I feel like the story of this set has been Keith really dominating the games he's winning. We'll see if Tax Evasion can make something happen here. It's been quite difficult, though.
Ooh, side sig right on top of Tax Evasion. Tax Evasion just going to stand and get passed on by.
Like side air from Keith. Tax Evasion getting sent off. Saves the recovery. Comes out as well. And the nairs. 2. We see a nice nair reversal from Keith. D-Light into recovery as well. 130 damage getting built up onto Tax Evasion. Almost unanswered as very few damage has been traded between the two. Nice little lead for Keith. He's looking for that downlight. But Tax Evasion flips it with a side air. Similar shades to how he came back in the last game. It's off these offstage interactions with the gauntlets. Another recovery comes out. And Tax Evasion without a weapon gets hit with a D-Light recovery. Still holding onto their sock.
Over to the hammer now on the side of Keith. Whoa! Eats the ground pound, and he doesn't have the movement just yet. He needs that nair, but he's not going to find the hit for the chase dodge. And suddenly, that's Tax Evasion with the first stock.
Yeah, this is a big difference. And, you know, the previous game that Tax had a lead, he was able to convert it into a win. So we'll see if it's similar for this game as Keith now with the sword online. Looking for the sword recovery. The D-Light might have gotten nerfed in certain ways, but the recovery and the follow-up options haven't. The recovery will just be able to KO off the top straight up. And no extra credit, essentially, for the side of Tax Evasion as Keith gets the taunt in, looking for that extra mental damage. Sidelight into nair, gets the dodge read there. Secondary nair as he avoids the ground pound, going for that very high nair on the spear, but doesn't find a D-Light in the side air. Recovery, trying to scoop Tax Evasion upwards if he goes for a very hasty recovery. He doesn't find it there, but he's still continuing to hold forward on this sword.
Okay, good spot dodge there from Tax Evasion. Some in the neutral there wants to make the swap over to the gauntlets. He sees how much they're stacking up. Gauntlet's going to be a little bit better in that option.
GC downlight, but we go for the scoop into the side air, but it doesn't connect the side air. As a ground pound comes out from Keith to get back to the stage quickly. Tax Evasion with a great read there, going for the weapon toss as well, but sweat beads make it so he can't find a KO option, and Keith landing right back down. Still unarmed, though. Has to pick up a sword once again and try to contend with the gauntlets that have caused quite a bit of problems. D-Light into Ensig. That could have been a recovery. We've heard that Tax Evasion misinputs that often, but Keith with a big slide off with his signature, and now Keith 1 stock away from taking this tournament.
Still, though, Tax Evasion has some good damage built up onto Keith. Could get this one to final stocks, but he's just running into the wall of lightsaber that Keith has built up right now. 87 damage built up onto Tax Evasion's final stock.
Okay, another recovery comes to his side air as well. Side light from Keith that time. Not going for the immediate downlight in the side air. That's a big downer. That should equalize the stocks, and we go to last stock. Game number 4. Tax Evasion looking to force game number 5 and potentially get a reset. Keith looking to win Summers right here for Southeast Asia.
It's going to take some fantastic gauntlet plays on Tax Evasion's side. Hits him with the side air, hits him with the recovery.
Side light comes through there as well, looking for that downlight of recovery. Is it enough to take it off the top? Not quite. A side stick to try to cover a fastball from Tax Evasion, but Tax Evasion flips it with a side. He risks it all on the ground pound and doesn't cash in that gambit, but that recovery not enough to do it. Keith 1 hit away. D-Light into recovery will be enough, and Keith is your summer champion for Southeast Asia singles. Keith, seed number 1 of the bracket, is undeniable, losing 1 game in the grand finals, but honestly, it didn't feel that close as Keith is your champion once again.
Yep, Keith just looking so strong, looking like he runs Southeast Asia because he has just been doing work.